So another overnighter at the big lake. I've been lucky enough to have been away to Portugal for the last 8 days, and I've got the last back end of some holidays off. I think it's the 30th or 31st of August today. It's proper drizzly, it's 14 degrees, and I've got no waders, so it's going to have to dictate swims with that, in terms of not being able to go into 11 where I've had success the last couple of overnighters, because you need waders to get any rods out there, unfortunately. So I'm going to try and go back to 20. I'm going to have a little look. I've been eyeing up a swim which is just underneath the bridge, right, sort of quite close to here, the South Car Park, and see if I can see any signs of fish there. If I can see anything, I might have a crack at a new swim. It's always nice to have a little discovery. So if not, I will be heading to 20, and if I can't get into 20, I'm gonna have a think. But it's a Thursday afternoon, it's 3 o'clock, it's drizzly, and it is full moon. I mean, I haven't been fishing long enough really yet to even have any experience of full moon making a difference to my fishing. But if it happens tonight, then I'll start thinking there might be something in it. So yeah, see how we go. Yeah, it could be a 10-minute walk if I can see some signs of that swim I've been looking at. If not, it'll be the solid 20-minute walk to the swim. So off we go, and let's see what happens. It's a moody one tonight, which is nice. I know I say it every single time, but this place is just a beast. Another month or so and it'll start getting a bit more brutal in terms of weather. So we've got to capitalise on it now, I suppose. Right, keep going, have a little look. So this is the other swim I've been eyeing up, over the 5 Arch Bridge. There's quite a lot of swims down this finger of the lake, but this one always looks prime. There's a fair few lily pads. I don't think you can see them here, but there's quite a lot of lily pads around here, and it's a nice reed bed round the corner. So I would probably cast straight over. So I'm going to have a good look here, and if anything pops its head out or any decent amount of fizzing turns up, then I might well give it a crack. If not, we'll head to 20, which is the landing stage and the white bridge. There's definitely a little bit of fizzing going on, but you never really know whether it's carp or not. It's tricky to see in this light as well. There's definitely fish in the area, but it's one of those age-old things. Do I gamble with exploring a brand new swim, or stick to what I've already worked out and been successful catching on? Conundrums. I think I'm going to get the barrow down into the swim down here. Now, I saw some fizzing sort of in the middle, but once you get this grey shimmer on the surface, you kind of lose it. And they don't really ever butt their heads out and show properly. So I think I'm going to get down into the swim on water level and have a good look. Yeah, gambles, isn't it? It's always a gamble. A little bit of an off-road route cutting down through here, a few big roots. But yeah, this is it. It looks pretty prime. So tempting, isn't it? It just looks carpy sometimes, and you just think, why not? That reed bed along the outside. And there's a little bay there where the duck is. I'll zoom in. You can imagine they all get in all the way along there. There's a little finger around there where the lake sort of peters out into nothing, and it gets really cloudy and clay. So I imagine they don't really get right down there, but yeah, decisions. There's a bit of fizz in there, look. But is it actually? Can't really see it on here. I imagine they like travelling through this bridge as well, in the channel. I think sod it, because it's an overnighter, it's a shorter walk back to the car park in the morning. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to have a very gentle lead around. Most places are pretty presentable. There isn't a huge amount of width. Oh, there you go, it's fizzing right in the middle. Here. camera's not picking it up. There you go. There it is. So yeah, that's quite close in. Let's give it a bash. So, 3 hours, new swim, lots of leading around. I'm hopeful that I found a couple of spots quite far out on the far margin. I'll show you in another video in a minute. The left hand rod is 21 wraps, the middle rod is 20 wraps. I've managed to accurately spot like 3 or 4 midi spawns over both areas. Haven't really seen any signs of fish per se, but it's an absolutely stunning swim. This is, it's cool. It's number 26. It's called 5 Arch, and nearly every swim on this lake is picturesque, but yeah, this one is a stunner. So what I'm going to do with the third rod is I've brought my bushwhacker from the car. I normally leave it in the car. It's quite bulky. I've got like maximum amount of sections on it, so I've got maximum reach. So for the third rod, because I'm sure they come in and out of these the bridge, under the bridge, I'm going to wait until bite time, so-called bite time, and see if I can see any fizzing, and then have the third rod as more of a targeted approach. So if I see any potential shows, I suppose it's not rule it out altogether, or any kind of fizzing, then I've got, I think it equates to about 14 wraps worth of bushwhacker poles, so I will drop it on their heads. If I don't manage to see anything, then I think I'll still use a bushwhacker. I quite like the idea of the fact that it's just one nice neat pile of bait, sort of more fishing for a bite, I suppose. Most places on this lake, or most areas, are fairly presentable. There isn't a huge amount of weed down here as far as I can tell, but I like the idea of sneaking it in and amongst some lily pads, or on the edge of some lily pads. So if I can see some fizzing or some signs in those sort of areas, then yeah, the bushwhacker will come out and we'll have a crack. But yeah, time for burgers. Got some nice burgers, cheeseburgers. So I'll get the stove on, cook them up, and keep my eye on the water. Okay then people, this is what I mean by a stunner of a swim. Look at that. I mean, I don't know anywhere in the world you kind of get that. Obviously there are places in the world that are amazingly stunning, but this is one of them. It's got to be, isn't it? It's got to be right up there. It's there was a little bit of a breeze chopping into this area when I arrived, but it seems to have stopped now. It's nothing like a nice still lake. It's actually a bit chilly. Getting to that time of year, it's end of August, and it's getting a bit chilly. So yeah, look, multiple lily pads. Got to keep my eye on the water. See what I can find, see what I can see, and bushwhack something out there. I mean, might not necessarily happen down this end. It could happen over here. So, got to keep my eye on all the water. There's a little bit of fizzing all the time, but it's just little fish and birds and whatnot. So, you just need to see like a nice steady stream, like a train going through, isn't it, when the bubbles follow each other across the top. So yeah, anyway, I've got one rod 21 wraps out on the edge of that bush, and then I've got another 120 wraps in this bay, and they're both on, all three will be on noodle rigs with the usual really. I mean, if it's not broke, I'm not going to fix it kind of thing. It's been catching, so tiger nuts with a balanced buoyant fake core on top for visibility as well. So fingers crossed. Let's hope we can have some action before dark would be nice, but the bites have tended to come in the middle of the night here. But yeah, let's have it. A little bit of a bugger last night. Had a take at 1:30 a.m. Seems to be a fairly common time actually in here. I think I've had about 3 or 4 fish now at 1:30, 2 a.m. ish. It was on the middle rod in the little bay, 20 wraps out. I don't know if it was big or small. I didn't really get it. Sort of topped out straight away within the first 30 seconds. It didn't sound like a tiny fish, and it didn't really fight. It was sort of very slowly plodding towards me, and not really sort of screaming off anywhere, any direction. And then it just got caught in. It's also that thing where you know, when it feels like the leader might be sort of caught underneath a pectoral fin or something similar. So I thought it had pinged off a couple of times. You know, that horrible feeling where you're like, oh, it's gone, and it wasn't gone. So I kept reeling in and it was still on. So I'm not sure the hook hold was all that great. So I managed to finally get it about 10 yards away into these reeds here. And the reeds are, lilies. And the lilies aren't that thick, so I wasn't that concerned about it. So I wasn't putting too much pressure on it. I was sort of giving it a bit of leeway to do what it wants. It wrapped around the lilies a little bit, but nothing too major. And then it just sort of topped out again and the hook pulled up. So straight back on the spot. And I've had a swan wake me up at 5:45 this morning by going over my line. You know what it's like in the middle of the night, putting the rod back out, and I obviously haven't sunk my line properly because there's lilies. So I was trying to get it in between them, but I couldn't see with a head torch. So I've been up since then, had a coffee, and been looking at the water, and not much going on at the moment. A couple of knocks on the middle rod and the bushwhacked one, which is right underneath the bridge pretty much. But yeah, nothing to report, and in the next hour or so bite time will be dwindling slightly, so hey ho. But yeah, anything can happen still. It's only, what is it now, 10 to 7. I've got to be back at about 9:30, 10, so I need to be sort of ready to go at about 9. So a couple more hours, so who knows. So it's 8:45, not much has happened. I'm going to plan to leave at 9. Sort of an opportunity lost, really. Obviously missing or losing one at 1:30. But even getting a bite, I suppose, is a positive thing. They're definitely going to be on the feed soon, as we're heading into autumn now. Looks like next week's going to be up to 28. After the dreadful summer we've had, all of a sudden, we've got a week's worth of really nice weather. So I think I'm back down in a couple of weeks actually for a 36-hour, couple of nights. So that may well be my last session because I'm at Hut Island for my birthday for a couple of nights, first week of October. Saying that, could potentially squeeze another 36 hours in mid-October or something. It's tricky to get out, try and get out once a month. So mid-October could be my last one here before the weather sets in. I fished all through the really cold weather last year without even a sniff when I first joined. And it's not the sort of lake that is that rewarding. There's a lot more. It's just, it's just tough, really tough. So I'm not sure I'm going to pursue that again this year here. Maybe day tickets might be an option. Or I just sack it off until the spring. So here comes the swan to get tangled up in my lines again. So that may well be the end of it. But yeah, if anything miraculous happens in the next 10 minutes, obviously it'll be on here. But apart from that, see you next time. Heavens have opened, typically, just as I was about to leave. The only silver lining is that I'm not at swim 20. So the walk is half the duration. So nearly there. So yeah, have another go in a couple of weeks. Love it.